Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to today's town hall. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, welcome. We are recording and live streaming today's session, so if you have any trouble with Zoom at any point, you can watch along on YouTube at youtube.com/@hospitable. We are also live streaming to our LinkedIn and Facebook pages and publish as a podcast episode to Spotify and Apple Podcasts on the next day. So hello to anyone watching or listening from there too. We'll share an agenda shortly, but if you have any questions during the session, please do try to use the Q&A functionality at the bottom of your screen rather than the chat. Chat is an excellent place to say hello to fellow hosts and property managers, but questions can get lost in there and it may be difficult for our team to find them. Just a reminder of a few things that you can do to help make this town hall a success for everyone. So please be respectful. Please be mindful that not every topic may be of interest to you, but could be important to others. And keep the chat constructive and try to keep your questions concise so that we can answer as many questions as possible. I'm going to briefly bring up our usual disclaimer before I chat through our agenda for today. And our main update for today and our demos will be around the new home dashboard experience and the opportunities we'll be presenting to you there. Then we're going to move on to some API and MCP updates on the Mogul plan, some guest portal updates from our new engineer, Colin, who's been working on that, plus a Google Nest update for you as well, before we'll move on to our usual customer success event and investor updates. And we'll try our best to squeeze in some time for some on-stage Q&A as well. But now I'm going to hand over to Tim, who's going to get us started on that first agenda item. Tim.
Thank you, Miles. Hello, everyone. So today we are going to talk about the new home dashboard. You may have noticed some changes being made to the new home dashboard over the last month or so. We're going to walk through those changes in a bit more detail and take you on the journey that we've been on to show you where we've ended up and why, as well as talk about some new functionality for the dashboard that we've added that you guys have been asking for. So to begin, it's 8 a.m. You open Hospitable at the start of your day. You have guests arriving. You have cleanings scheduled, a same-day turnover, a rental agreement that needs signing. And the primary questions on your minds are, what needs my attention? What does my workload look like today? What should I do next? Because today is a busy day. And these numbers on the screen, by themselves, they're not scary. But as hosts, you know that each of these numbers carries questions. Did my cleaning team show up on time for my tight same-day turnover? Did my last-minute booking get their security deposit taken care of? Did we get the issue of the leaky faucet fixed before the next check-in? And so many more questions. So where do you start? Do you go to the inbox first, the calendar, guest experience, devices? The answers to all those questions I mentioned, they're out there in Hospitable, but they're spread out. They're not put to your attention. They're not prioritized. It's not timely. And this was where the problem gets interesting, because the opportunity for us is to help narrow that field, to bring forward the things that deserve your attention and explain why they might matter. Not to decide those priorities for you, but to shine a spotlight on what may need action now and make the next relevant step easier to reach. And that is the journey that we have been on over the last few months, to understand what we should be shining that spotlight on. And in doing that, we took a look at our current dashboard. And until now, we have been giving you a non-differentiated list of your upcoming check-ins, your checkouts, your tasks, and leaving it up to you to figure out which ones actually need attention. You had to open each reservation to see which ones had an early check-in, which ones hadn't signed their rental agreement yet, which one was missing a turnover task. And fundamentally, the dashboard doesn't answer those questions that you ask yourself when you log in to Hospitable at 8 a.m. on a busy day. What needs my attention? What's my workload like today? And what should I do next? And when we asked you about the dashboard, you agreed, bluntly. One host said to me, right now, the home dashboard is just a landing page on the way to other areas. Another host said, it's useless, and I immediately click away upon opening the app. And finally, my favorite answer, I skip the home dashboard. I even have a bookmark for Hospitable that sends me directly to the inbox. They even have a bookmark to avoid it. This is not what we want. The home dashboard has not earned the right to be the starting point for running your business, and we very much want to change that. And so when we asked you, okay, what should the home dashboard be then? What should it tell you? You said things like any burning issue that needs my attention, any early check-in, account performance insights. And again, my favorite, simply today's workload. And so the takeaway from this was that there wasn't really one answer. You all log in to Hospitable with a different job to do. Some of you start with operational workload. Some of you want to just know if anything's broken. Others care just about one specific reservation or property. And this isn't necessarily contradictory feedback. It just reflects the fact that you all run different businesses with different workflows. And so we could solve that problem by just putting everything on the home dashboard. More and more info, reservations, performance, metrics, messages, devices. But that is not how we do things at Hospitable. And it wouldn't solve the overall problem. It would just move everything that you currently search for onto one page, which would just pass the burden over to you. A dashboard that has everything on it can still be a bad dashboard. And we don't want you to have to hunt through every reservation, every task, every device, every message, every morning. You'd still need to scan everything, interpret it, decide what matters, and then work out what to do. And instead, like I said, the dashboard should help narrow that field. It should bring forward the things that may deserve your attention, explain why they might matter, and then make it easier for you to decide what to do next. And so this has been the work behind the new dashboard. We won't know your businesses better than you do, and we don't want to take that decision away from you. But our role is to highlight the things our signals suggest matter, help you prioritize, and then give you enough context to take that next action. So that is why the new home dashboard will help you to prioritize. That is what it will now do. Not by deciding those priorities for you, but by looking at what is happening in your account and helping you discern what matters most. We really want the new dashboard to be the prioritization engine for your business, not a place for metrics or charts or tables, but a place where actually we can go a step further. We want it to identify issues, to show you what needs attention, give you a clear next action, and fundamentally answer those questions that you've told us are important. What needs my attention? What does today's workload look like? And what should I do next? So let's start with the most urgent example. How do we bring truly critical issues to your attention? Until now, we have been fairly limited in how we communicate critical issues to you. I'm sure most of you will remember these fairly awful yellow banners. They followed you around the product. They interrupted what you were doing. If we're being honest, most of you just dismissed them so they'd go away. And that didn't help anyone. But it also limits our ability to display critical issues. If you have more than one, how do we display that for you? Take an overdue payment term, for example. We do tell you about it in the inbox via this banner, but it's fairly manual. You have to be looking in that reservation thread. You have to find out the amount due yourself. So we don't really have a good way to tell you that there's a critical problem on this reservation that actually, in this case, might end up in us auto-cancelling it. That's not a yellow banner kind of problem. So we need a new space to present this to you where you can go and resolve it. And there are a lot of different critical issues like this. Guest issue alerts, double booking risks, failed payouts. And we need more space to communicate these things to you so that we can help your operations run more smoothly. So where did we land? Well, now at the top of your new dashboard, we have claimed some space. To answer that first question when you log in at 8 a.m., what needs my attention? We actually refer to this internally as the oh shit bar. And so these are alerts that come from very different parts of Hospitable, but they all have one thing in common. They are important now, and there is a meaningful consequence if you do nothing. There is a guest currently without water. Smart lock codes will no longer be sent out because the account is disconnected. That unpaid reservation that I mentioned, it's at risk of being cancelled, but also here is the payment amount due. Here is the reservation. Here's when it will be cancelled by if no action is taken. So that's the first question the home dashboard now helps answer. What needs my attention? But thankfully, most mornings aren't actually made up entirely of emergencies. Once the critical issues are under control, the next question is, what is today's workload? What does today actually require of me? And we've always shown check-ins and check-outs and tasks on the home dashboard. But the previous view was essentially a long list of reservation activity. It told you who was arriving and when. We know that's important to some of you, so we've beared that in mind. But what it didn't tell you was whether those reservations were actually ready. To understand that, you would need to open each reservation individually, check several different parts of Hospitable to understand, is this property clean? Has the rental agreement been signed? Has the security deposit been collected? And so again, the challenge isn't simply displaying the reservations, it's about identifying which reservations actually need something from you. And that is a very different prioritization problem. We don't want to show every piece of activity with equal importance. We want to show you the shape of the day and then spotlight the exceptions that may need involvement. Therefore, the next component on the dashboard is focused on daily operations. So it brings together what's happening across occupied properties, check-ins, check-outs, turnovers, and tasks. But the numbers are really only the starting point. So starting with check-ins first, a calendar can tell you that you have 3 check-ins today, but not every check-in is easy. You guys know that as hosts. There are requirements that you have on every reservation, from the cleaning to the rental agreement to the security deposit to an early check-in, and you need help finding out what those exceptions are, finding out on which check-ins are those requirements not being met. How many of my 3 check-ins today actually need attention, and what's my workload? So you know these are the check-ins that actually require something from you. And that same principle applies once the guest is already in the property. So active stays don't always need the host's attention, and we don't want to manufacture work by listing every guest equally. But here, one guest has reported an issue. That's an exception that I need to know about. I can select it. I can see which guests and property are affected. I can go directly to the inbox to understand what has happened. For checkouts, we apply that same filtering. So there are 3 guests leaving, but there are 2 things that change the shape of the day. There is a guest who has a late checkout, and another checkout has no cleaning task associated with it. So the count tells me how many checkouts I have, but the notices or the statuses tell me which checkouts could actually affect the next part of the operation. And that becomes even more important when the property has another guest arriving on that same day. A same-day turnover is not simply a checkout and a check-in shown in 2 different places. It is one connected operational event. We've just never really been able to treat it as such. And so in this example, that late checkout that I mentioned belongs to the same property as a same-day check-in. That makes it so much more important. And so that's why we've given same-day turnovers their own space. And by giving it its own space, we preserve that relationship. Instead of making you work out which checkout and check-in actually belong together, and then tasks will complete that picture. So again, the important question isn't only how many tasks are scheduled, it's are there any that are still unconfirmed? Are there any that are unassigned or declined? Which tasks support a same-day turnover? Is there cleaning or maintenance work missing after a guest checks out? So here I can immediately see that there are 2 tasks that are still unconfirmed, and there is 1 task that is connected to a same-day turnover. So when we put that all together, this is the new daily operations view to help you answer that second question that I mentioned. What is today's workload? And so together, these cards show the volume of the day, and then they draw attention to the exceptions that change what needs to be managed. But this brings us back to something that we've heard repeatedly. There isn't one dashboard view that works equally well for all hosts. So for someone managing 1 or 2 properties, most days, those portfolio totals may actually just be 0. And so showing 0 check-ins and 0 checkouts and 0 tasks doesn't help you understand what happens next. So we're also working on a property level view of daily operations. Instead of starting with totals, this view will start with the state of each property. Is it occupied or vacant? When is the next guest arriving? Is there a turnover? Is the cleaning scheduled? So this will show what's happening now, what are the things happening next, and are there any exceptions? So for larger hosts, the useful question is what's happening today? What are the exceptions? For smaller hosts, it's more often what is happening at my property next, and is it ready? So we'll be adding this view in soon also, and you'll be able to toggle between the two. But that means that whether you're managing 20 properties or one, daily operations is going to help you understand what is happening and where you may need to get involved. But not everything worth doing is an issue. Not every useful action is urgent. Which brings us to our final 8 a.m. question. Once today is under control, what should I do next? And it relates to another piece of feedback that we hear from hosts all the time. I know I'm not using the full capabilities of Hospitable. I don't understand how to use the platform to its full advantages, and I need to spend more time figuring out what to do next because I know Hospitable could make my life easier and help my business grow. And that's understandable because Hospitable does a lot and it keeps growing. Here is a non-exhaustive list of the features that Hospitable has shipped in the last 18 months or so. So Hospitable has a lot of tools that can help you run your business better. Some of them save time by automating a workflow. Other tools generate additional revenue to help your business grow, things like early check-ins or improve how you price available nights. Others are tools that can help you optimize your listings via listings management, so something like checkout tasks that can improve your 5-star review rate, or adding in non-refundable rates that give Booking.com guests another way to book. That's great, but you've told us that that creates another challenge. And keeping up with every way to optimize your listings, remembering what exists, understanding whether it's relevant to you, doesn't have to be your job. What should you do next? Well, that's something that we want to help discern for you. What if we told you that based on your setup and what is happening in your business, here is what we think should be next. Here's what we think can help move your business forward and why. That's opportunities. So this is the answer to what should I do next. We look at your account setup, your properties, your connected channels, your reservation and guest activity. We then surface a set of opportunities. They are grounded in data. They're relevant to your business at the relevant time. So whereas needs attention alerts are facts, critical issues to deal with, opportunities are opinions. They're recommendations. Nothing in this section is necessarily broken, but we think that these things can help you grow, can save you time, can optimize your listings. So take the first example here, non-refundable rates on Booking.com. We aren't showing it here merely because Booking.com supports non-refundable rates. We're showing it because this property is listed on Booking.com. It received 3 Booking.com reservations in the last month. We know this property only currently offers 1 booking option, but we also know that offering multiple can improve listing performance. So we recommend adding a lower non-refundable rate alongside that existing flexible policy to improve performance. And that is the model. It's relevant to your setup. It's grounded in data. It's shown at the appropriate time and easy to act on, with the goal of helping you answer that question, what should I do next? And that is how you get the most from Hospitable. So now that we've seen how the dashboard can surface critical issues, help run today's operations, and help with listing performance, I am going to hand over to Ben to demo what this actually looks like in the product. Over to you, Ben.
Thank you, Tim. Let me just share my screen. Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. So Tim's shown you a lot of the different parts of that dashboard, but let's chuck it all together and try and do a live demo and see it all in the mix. So as Tim mentioned, some of you have likely seen this already. We've been pushing this out gradually over the last couple of weeks as we've been working on different pieces. Let me just start with a little scroll through just to ground ourselves in what's going on here. Cool. So as Tim mentioned, it's 8 a.m. You open up Hospitable, could be on your phone, could be on your laptop, and you want to know, you've got a nice cup of coffee, you want to know what needs your attention. We set this one up as a pretty spicy day. I've got a smorgasbord of issues and insights for you to take a look at. I hope your typical hosting day is a little bit calmer than the one we're going to show you here. So kicking off with the needs attention, I'm definitely not going to call it the oh shit bar again. As Tim mentioned, this is critical items that really should be actioned now, whether that's account level issues, critical guest alerts if you're using issue alerts in the inbox. Yeah, anything that we think is oh shit worthy or really does need your attention. As Tim mentioned, we've claimed some space. This is at the top of the screen. It does hide away nicely if you have nothing to see here, and I hope for most days, for most of you, that will be the case. It does hide away and reclaim that space for other things on the dashboard. But yeah, like Tim said, those old gnarly yellow banners that we used to have kicking around, this gets them a little bit more out of the way. Those used to stand experience, and this is our new home for those. If you are elsewhere in the app, this isn't going to follow you around anymore, but we have added a badge, there we go, to the home icon on the left here, same on mobile, so you always know you've got something to action. And to be honest, on top of that as well, a lot of these will also send you push notifications to your device if you've opted in for that. So things like, for example, guest issues, I'm going to get a push notification, but I'm also going to see it on my dashboard. If there are any of these that for some reason aren't applicable, there shouldn't be, or you can't action right now, you still have the ability to dismiss them, or for some of them, just snooze them. They will come back around because they are very important to solve at some point. But yeah, most of the time, anything that's there is very worthy of your attention. So diving into some of those examples, I've got 3 here. So Tim talked about these a little bit already. But first of all, I have a smart device account disconnected. So if I tap on that one, that is going to take me right into the part of the product where I can resolve this. I can see here my Schlage account that I borrowed from Chris for this demo has become disconnected. So let's see if we can reconnect that now. Probably the trickiest part of this is, can Ben remember the password? So let's see. All right, seems so. So that's it, one down. We've reconnected our smart devices account. So if I go back to the home screen, it's still there. It will disappear in a minute, I promise. We're just waiting for all those signals to come back in. But if I wanted to, I could dismiss this now as well and move on. I've got a couple of other needs attention items in there as well. For example, Tim used that example of a guest who is paying with payment terms, and one of those payment terms has failed. This used to be, like Tim mentioned, you could find it in the product, you could find it in the inbox, but we weren't doing a great job of surfacing that to you. That is now right here in needs attention. It is critical. Again, it disappeared. That is critical because we will cancel the reservation if this isn't resolved by the guest. So you could tap on this, it'll take you into the inbox, you could send a message to the guest, you could give them a call, whatever you need to do to get on top of that. And similarly as well, I have a guest issue. So PC is staying at one of my properties, Salcombe Beachfront Retreat, and he's got no hot water, which is not great. So again, if I was to tap on that one, it takes me straight into the inbox. I can review what's going on there, maybe suggest a reply, get somebody sent out to help here. Well, I'm not going to send that now because this is a dashboard benefit. Cool. So yeah, that's needs attention. Once you've taken care of anything that needs your attention, as Tim mentioned, we go into daily operations. One of the things I personally love about daily operations, and Pierre touched on this in the chat at the start of the town hall, if you saw the chat, I've been at Hospitable for just over 7 years. And during that time, the product has evolved massively. We've added all these new features and capabilities to hopefully make your hosting lives easier. But as PC rightly said, up until very recently, the dashboard didn't reflect any of that. I honestly don't think it really changed at all in those 6 or 7 years, apart from the addition of community. And so it wasn't really a living dashboard. And I feel like with daily operations, not only have we built this and we're shipping this with some insights today that we'll talk about, but it's also giving us that framework. So those next features we add, those next things that we add, we can get in front of you, and it's going to be this kind of evolving dashboard that we can keep adding to, so you can see what is going on. Anyway, daily operations. So as Tim mentioned, we will show you a list of check-ins, check-outs, mid-stays. I've only got a handful of each for my demo, but everyone is interested. So for my mid-stay, you can see I've got two guest mid-stay, one guest issue reported. If I tap on this, it's going to show me that list of reservations that are mid-stay. It's going to tell me that the one with the issue is actually PC. We already saw that. He's got no hot water. I could tap on either of these and land in the inbox to do whatever I need to do with those. And when I come back, I'll come straight back into this view. So I don't lose my context. If I come back, I come straight back to where I left off. You can also see filtered lists of these. If you've got a longer list of mid-stays or check-ins, you can use these filters here to just filter down on ones that have guest issues, for example. Or I've got one here that's a check-in, for example, this early check-in. I can filter on that list. And if I tap on these here, it's going to take me straight into those filtered lists. We don't want to take you to the full list of check-ins. You're interested right now in this particular one. We're going to take you straight into that list there. So for check-ins, you can see I've got 3 check-ins today. Turns out every single one of them has something going on. I've got one early check-in. So Devon is going to be checking in at 1 p.m., which is early for my property. I've got one cheeky guest that has not signed their rental agreement yet. Nick, staying in my Tavistock room, has not yet signed his rental agreement. So I might want to dive into the inbox, send him a message, give him a call, get that resolved to make sure that he has a smooth check-in. I've also got another guest that has not completed guest verification. So Chris hasn't yet completed guest verification, so I might want to follow that up with him. A lot of the times as well, we do alert guests to these things as well, but this is making it much easier on the host side as well. Before, like Tim said, you had to go digging to kind of put the pieces together for this. Cool. So for checkouts, we also show things of interest. Obviously, they're different to check-ins. An early check-in makes no sense for a checkout. So on the checkouts tab, we show you things interesting for checkouts. So that's things like late checkouts, for example. If someone's got a late checkout today, I can see who that is. I can see Sam is checking out at 12:30. And I can see as well, if you use the Hospitable Tasks app, we actually know whether you have cleaning scheduled after someone's checked out. And if you don't, we will now raise that to you as an insight here. So you can see I've actually got, out of my 3 checkouts today, one of them doesn't have a cleaning task assigned, and it's the family-friendly villa. So Tim's going to check out at 11 a.m., but there's no cleaning task scheduled there. So I might want to tap into that, create a task, get it signed out to somebody. Probably my favorite piece, same day turnovers, because I think, like Tim said, this was super, super hard to find before. They're typically risky. You're trying to do a lot in a short space of time. You've got somebody checking out, you've got somebody checking in. You might have tasks in the middle of that, a cleaning going on, a check-in task. So now you can see those, any same day turnovers. And if I tap into it, it gives me the details and it gives me those launch points to go into everything and make sure that is handled and take the risk out of it. So today, in my central historic Tavistock room, what a name, you can see Sam Jones is checking out at 12:30. That's also my late checkout, so it's a bit of a double whammy there. Sam's checking out at 12:30. I've got cleaning crew going in at 12:30, so that is super tight. I might want to adjust this. I might want to change the start time on the clean. But then I've got Nick coming in at 3 o'clock. So I can tap on any one of these, takes me into either reservation. I can tap on the task, it takes me into the task. Just trying to put everything in one place so that you can make sure this goes smoothly. And finally, on daily operations, tasks. So we talked a little bit about the absence of cleaning tasks being something interesting, but we also show you how many tasks are scheduled for today and what's interesting about those tasks. So in this case, you can see I've got 2 unconfirmed tasks. I've got 1 task related to a same-day turnover, and I've got 2 that haven't started on time. So it's trying to give you those insights into like not just what are the tasks happening today, but what are the interesting things? What do I need to be aware of? What do I need to keep on top of? And tasks functions the same as reservations. You can tap into it to see more details. You can see those insights, those notices that we put there, and you can see those filtered views if you have 100 of these instead of 2 of them. So that's daily ops. By default, we will show you everything that's relevant for today. But if you get a bit ahead of the game, you can jump to tomorrow or the next day to kind of see what's going on. And if you need more than that, if I jump into one of these tabs, you might have spotted this already. We have this day, week, or custom selector up here. So if I want to switch from day view to week view, and I actually want to see all of my checkouts for the next 8 days, for example, 8 days, 7 days, 8 checkouts, I can see that here by switching to week mode. So that gives me kind of a longer looking list into the future of what's going to be happening. And I don't need to change this every time. I can jump to any of these tabs. It's going to show me the next week. If you need more granularity, you can tap custom. You can select whatever dates you want, and you can get that same list. And finally, on daily ops, we know some of you from feedback you've given us and discussions we've had, part of your workflow is to print lists of reservations or export lists of reservations to give to people, to give to cleaners, perhaps, for example. If you do that, one, I'd really encourage you to try Hospitable Task tab if you're not already. But if that is part of your workflow and you really need that, you've probably spotted this already. But I can take any one of these views, tap the print button. It's going to give me a nice printable format. I can then print or save as a PDF and share with whoever I need to send it to. So that will also take into account any filters you have. So if I just wanted to export a list of late checkouts, for example, during this date period, I can tap on print. I'm just going to see that particular one. So it reacts to your filters. All right, so that's daily operations. Jump back to today. So the only thing I'm going to show you today, which is not yet live for everybody, is this new bookings piece. We know, again, from talking to some of you, that an important part of your workflow is understanding and handling some of those time-sensitive things that come in on your hosting journeys. So things like request to book, which typically have like a 24-hour expiry time, or inquiries that are awaiting your reply. So that's basically what this gives you. You can tap on that to take you straight to the inbox to review any request to book that you might have. We also send you push notifications for these as well, but we wanted to make sure it's in the product. So I can tap on that, take you to the inbox to review any pending requests I have, or tap on the other one to see any inquiries. As I mentioned, this is the one piece, just this block here, that is probably not available yet in your account, but will be coming very, very soon. And on to opportunities, as Tim mentioned. I think Tim probably did this a lot more justice than I'm going to be able to do on a demo. But once you've taken care of everything that either needs your attention or is happening today, what are those things you can do to level up your hosting experience, your hosting journey? So we've got a few examples here. Just want to echo that point that Tim mentioned as well. Like, this isn't a pre-canned list for everybody. We look at insights, we look at signals from your account, we look at some of the experiences that you've had, and we generate these opportunities for you. So they should be relevant to you. So you can see here, for example, that booking.com refundable rate, non-refundable rate that Tim talked about. One of the reasons that's here so high on my list is because I had 3 booking.com reservations last month, and I didn't have this as an option. So, you know, that might have helped there. So we use those insights to try and explain to you, like, you know, why we think this is worth your time. If you find one that's not worth your time, or you don't think you're going to action because it doesn't fit your you know, how you host, you can dismiss these, and they will tuck away. And yeah, you may have noticed on the dashboard, I've actually got 9+ opportunities at the moment. We don't want to show 9+ on the dashboard. We don't have enough room for that. So we will show you up to the top 3. If you want to see the longer list, you can tap on this View All on the right-hand side, go to a place called the Opportunity Center. Not quite as a spicy name as the O-Ship bar, but there we go. And you can see that full list there. So you can browse through those opportunities, whether that's things that might improve your performance, increase your revenue, save you money, whatever they might be. In your own time, you can have a look through these. And again, just to pull out an example, if I tap on Setup on one of these, or I tap on Enable, it's going to take me right to the place in Hospitable where I set this up. Sounds obvious, but just to say that out loud. So One of the ones I've got, for example, is this Airbnb make checkout smoother with checkout tasks. So you've probably seen this list of tasks that you can give to a guest when they check out. Things like, take the trash out, leave the key in the box, wherever it's going to be. And you can see I had three checkouts, sorry, on Airbnb in July, and I didn't have this. And based on data from Airbnb, actually, they have data that says that this can improve your 5-star review rate. So this is something I might want to enable for my properties. If I wanted to do that, like I mentioned, just tap on the setup button. Should take me to the right place on the right property in Hospitable, where I can see those guest checkout tasks. I can add, for example, return keys, use the lockbox used on check-in, for example. I can add as many of those as I want, hit save, back to the dashboard, boom, we've done an opportunity. So yeah, that is opportunities. Getting towards the end of this, I promise. So beneath opportunities, we have two very important pieces. We have community and events. Some of you from the old dashboard might remember that community used to live at the top of the dashboard. It now lives under opportunities. I'm sure you probably all know what the Hospitable community is at this point, but if you haven't checked it out, I would recommend you do so. There are some real nuggets in there. We try and make it easy. We'll show you 3 things that we think are interesting recently based on recent activity and things. Or there's a button here to view community. If you tap on that, you'll be automatically logged into community and you can get involved straight away. So this lives under opportunities now. And we've also added events as a bit of a companion to it. So if you're ever curious when the next town hall is, where you can see Hospitable in person, or any of our other online events, you can see those in the event list. These times, little thing, they'll all show up in your local time. If you tap on any of those, it will take you right through to register for those events. So that's community and events. I've got to the bottom of the screen. I do have one more thing to show them. As Tim mentioned, we went on a bit of a journey in building this. We got a lot of feedback, very valuable feedback. And as Tim mentioned, we learned that you can't create one dashboard that works perfectly well for everybody. So we deployed this earlier today. So this you may have seen this already as of this morning. But up in the top right, we now have this customize button. We're not quite done with this, but this is our view on, if you like. You can make this dashboard your own. So if I tap on that customize button, it brings out this bar on the right-hand side. And it's going to show you all those kind of big pieces that we talked through: daily operations, new bookings, opportunities. And if there's some of those that I don't want to see, I can turn those off. Apart from needs attention, we really want you to see that if you need to see it. So we've locked that one. So I can turn on and off the sections that are applicable to me. Can drag and drop to reorder this, and you can see the dashboard behind me updates as I do that. So I can kind of see what's going on behind the scenes there. And yeah, you can use this to help make it your own. This will also follow you. So everything we've shown on the dashboard today works on your laptop, works on mobile. This dashboard is optimized for mobile as well. If you customize the dashboard, it will follow you wherever you are. So you'll see that same view everywhere. And of course, if you want to, I'm going to use that now. I can reset that back to Hospitable's proposed layout. All right, that's what I've got for the demo. One more thing I will say, I know Tim's going to touch on this briefly, but just next to that customize button, we also have a feedback button. You've probably heard us both say throughout this so far how much feedback has been important to this project. If you have any feedback, try this out, try everything out, see how it works for you. If you have any feedback about the dashboard specifically, tap this button. It's going to open a feedback form in the app. It's not going to take you anywhere else. It says it takes 15 seconds, so it's a pretty quick one. We would love to hear that feedback from you. What's working for you? What we can add. This customized view, I think we're going to start to add more things in the future, which Tim's going to talk a little bit to in a minute. So yeah, have a play, try it out, and give us your feedback. Cool. That's everything I've got. I'll hand back over to Tim.
Thanks, Ben. That was great. And just to reiterate, everything that you have just seen is now live for all users, apart from that new booking component, which will be rolling out over the next week or so. 2 more quick slides from me. So first, this is not the finished version of the home dashboard. It is very much the foundation. We will be adding in more alerts, as well as push notifications for critical alerts that can't wait. We will be adding more opportunities. We want to use more signals to better understand which opportunities are most relevant. And that means better prioritization, stronger context, and ultimately clearer answers to the why am I seeing this? And finally, more views for different ways of hosting. Like we've mentioned, you all run your businesses differently. You all have different workflows. And so we want to help facilitate that with more operational views. For example, that property level view, which I showed for daily operations. And so finally, just to reiterate what Ben mentioned, if you want to help shape those improvements, if there's a view that you want to see, a notification that's crucial, something that's missing, head to that feedback button on the dashboard, or you can also scan the QR code on the screen now to leave some feedback. That is all from me. Over to Emily with some Mogul updates.
Thank you, Tim. All right, my updates today are related to the API and the MCP. So our MCP updates this week are focused on Mogul plan features, but just a quick reminder that the MCP is included on all of our paid plans and includes way more than just Mogul features. The MCP allows you to connect Hospitable to your favorite AI agent like Claude or ChatGPT so that it can do things for you and you can kind of make Hospitable more custom for your business. So you can use the MCP and your favorite AI agent to review and publish owner statements and invoices. You can also view your owner's details and more about their use of the owner portal, like have they accepted their invite? Do they have their bank account connected? And are they ready to be paid their owner payout? And this week, we are announcing that you can now create, edit, and view transactions. So this one is really cool because transactions are just one of the more obnoxious things, I think, to add into Hospitable. It's very tedious, and there's a lot of details that we need for a transaction to be able to add it as an expense on an owner statement. But with this, imagine you're at Costco and you snap a picture of your receipt. And as you're pushing your cart to the car, you can tell Claude or tell ChatGPT, hey, create transactions out of the items on this receipt. Make sure that I get reimbursed for that. And before you've even loaded your trunk, the transactions are created in Hospitable. They'll be visible on the next owner statement or invoice. And you didn't even have to log into Hospitable to do that. So this QR code on the right will bring you straight to some really great resources that we have about how to make Hospitable your own with our MCP. There you're going to find workshops, help articles, and even a library of tools built by fellow Hospitable hosts and submitted for community use. Next, I will invite Abby to the stage to share some improvements that you'll notice in our guest portal. Abby?
Thank you, Emily. So we recently had a new front-end developer join our team, Colin. You met him a couple of town halls back. And Colin's first project was making some small but impactful improvements to our guest portal. So now your guests can view a gallery of all of the images for your property from the guest portal. We've also made our calls to action more consistent to bring attention to important tasks like completing rental agreements, security deposits, registration tasks, reviewing alteration requests, and paying overdue payment terms. We've also improved the upsell checkout experience to persist the guest cart from the home page, which we hope will help convert guests who leave the upsell checkout without completing their purchase. And we made it easier to access the property address and for guests to open directions in the maps of their choice, in the Maps app of their choice. And we also made some of the views like house rules or cancellation policy, documents, drawers rather than full screen views to make it easier for guests to navigate through them on mobile. And so those are just some small improvements to what already exists today in the guest portal. However, we do plan to continue to add new features to make the guest portal the place for your guests for everything they need for their reservation. And so the next thing that we will be adding to the guest portal is access to smart lock codes and also ability to control the thermostat from the portal. So more to come on that soon. And we have Tim next to actually talk about just that, thermostats.
Yes, related note. I'm back after a quick glass of water to talk about thermostats. So we have moved our industry first Nest integration out of beta into GA. It is now live for all Pro, Mogul, and Legacy users. So far, 240 of you have connected your Nest devices. That's a total of 643 Nest devices actually connected. So if you have a Nest device, but you haven't connected it yet, again, it's live for all Pro, Mogul, and Legacy users. It is very simple to connect. It takes just 2 minutes. You just need to head to Devices, then Thermostat to connect. And as soon as you do, we will start managing the device. We will begin syncing your chosen presets to your reservations. You can also scan the QR code on the screen just to learn a little bit more about the integration, as well as which devices, not just Nest, but also Honeywell and Ecobee, are actually supported. So that is all from me for real this time. Over to Patrick with some integration updates.
Perfect. Thank you, Tim. Let me go to the next slide. Integrations. Perfect. Today, I'm very happy to announce that we have 4 new partners in our portfolio. So first of all, welcome all of them. And I want to quickly explain to you what they actually mean for our hosts. So let's kick it off with SDR Deal Finder under the professional services category. This one is less about managing the properties. You already have more about finding your next property. They help operate, identify lease arbitrage opportunities, analyze the market, and also revenue potential, and even support own outreach in negotiations. So if you have customers saying, hey, hospital is working great, now I want to grow from 5 properties to 10 properties, this is exactly the kind of partner we can point them toward. And also something very special from them, they're also offering a hospital customer 20% off for their large service. Second is Open Room, another channel that we onboarded. It's a new booking channel focused on group travels across the US and also Mexico. And what's very nice, it helps larger property hosts reach families, groups looking for homes that can accommodate everyone by keeping availability synced through our Hospitable tool. If you go down to it, we have another channel / direct booking is Kubo. Kubo is focused in Siargao in the Philippines, but they're already expanding rapidly to the rest of the market in the Philippines, and it helps hosts reach more travelers and generate additional bookings outside of the traditional OTAs. And while the Hospitable integration keeps the availability synchronized across the channels, so it reduces manual work and also avoids double booking, what we all like. And finally, but not least, I think you all know AirDNA. AirDNA launched a new product called AirDNA Adapt. And Adapt is a new revenue management product using AirDNA's market data to recommend and automatically sync nightly rates and also minimum stays into Hospitable. And a nice part is the transparency, so hosts can see the comms and logic behind the recommendations instead of relying on a black box price. So together, these integrations send our hospital partner ecosystem, and you can all explore the integration under my.hospitable.com/integrations. So again, a very welcome to Hospitable, and thank you for being part of the ride. And yes, now let me pass over to Brian. Thank you and happy Wednesday.
Thanks, Patrick. So we're going to continue the quick tip sequence that we started a few weeks ago. This one I promise will be, if you watched the one last week, it was not so quick. It was a little longer than I would have liked. But this one I promise will be just like 2 minutes. So it's essentially, there's a smart lock feature, a setting that allows you to let the guests in a little bit earlier, a little bit later. And I'm honestly really surprised the more people I talk to don't know that this feature exists. Just to give you like a heads up, this will allow guests to get in 5 minutes early without notifying them that they can get in 5 minutes early, and reduce you getting a message from a guest who showed up early and is asking for the smart lock code, or telling you that they can't get in and calling the police and freaking out, or accidentally locking their baby in your Airbnb if they're 5 minutes late getting out of the property and your lock automatically locks them out. So check out the video. This will show you how to set that up for your properties. Success Weekly, we do every Thursday and every other Tuesday, we do a workshop on a specific topic to help you kind of use some of the features in Hospitable or give you some understanding of new features that we've got to help you get access to those or just set them up in your account. So this week, Brittany is going to do a direct booking blueprint workshop. And that's going to be tomorrow at 12 noon. Then Tuesday, I think there's another one. If you scan this QR code, it takes you to our events page and you can see the ones that we have for next week as well. I forget what the topics are, but Tony's doing one on Tuesday. And then there is Tony or Ash. I can't remember. Sorry if I got that wrong, but Brittany's doing hers on Thursday as well. So scan the QR code and sign up for some of those workshops and it'll help you get your account set up or optimized. And then last but not least, if you guys need help getting access to some of these features that we talked about, or just kind of going over the setup of some of them, scan this QR code. It'll take you to a page and you can book a call with our team. We're all hosts and we know how to use the product. We've used the product for years and we can help you optimize your account, make more money out of your account. A lot of times lately, we've been able to help people set up some of the upsells and direct bookings to where we're actually able to earn them more money than it actually costs you to pay us. So we're kind of getting to a point where we're helping people earn more money than they're paying Hospitable for the subscription. So that's definitely something we can help you do. I think we're going to Miles next for some events.
That is correct. Thank you very much, Brian. Yes, so just a couple of events to talk you through today. Obviously, Brian touched on one or two there. So as always, we always like to call out for anyone new here to Hospitable that's maybe feeling a little overwhelmed with all these awesome features that we're talking about. We suggest that you join one of our weekly workshops showing you how to get set up and get started. These are every Tuesday. Our team hosts a session at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central European Time. And all of those sessions are recorded. So go ahead and register. You can either watch live or watch on demand. We'll make sure to share the link in the chat as well to all of the links for today. And as always, we'll be back at the same time, same place in 2 weeks for our next town hall. So this QR code allows you to add all of our town halls to your calendar so that you don't miss another update. Okay, and that's it from me on events. I'm going to hand over to PC for some investor updates. PC.
Thank you very much, Miles. And yeah, I got to share my excitement for the dashboard. It's been a while since I've been thinking about changing it, and it's great to finally see the team bringing it to a new foundation that hopefully is a lot more helpful. We cannot end this town hall without some Q&A. I hope we're gonna have some time, but just a bit of an update on the host token. If you are new, Hospitable is a bit of a different company. It's a community owned, so that means it's owned by its team and its customers. So people that are working for it and the people that are receiving the benefit of using our product. Now, a fun anecdote, I was actually on a call yesterday with someone working at a private equity firm, and he asked me, why do you have such an anti-VC, anti-private equity stance? Maybe I do, maybe I don't, but I know what I prefer, and I'd rather have people that are using our product on the daily, on a cap table, so that they can provide us with great feedback, and the team that is building it to be having the maximum incentive on this company being successful. Now, if you are on the receiving end of that tunnel, you can invest into Hospitable if you go to invest.hospitable.com. Now, one of the things that I'm not repeating is basically what is the term sheet. If you are an investor, what are you receiving as a benefit after this investment? So first of all, it's an opportunity to be investing into Hospitable that's offered for any qualified investors. If you are resident outside of the United States, you can just complete a small identity check, and we're going to do very small and very quick background check. But the other part is that if you are in the US, you will need to provide an accredited investor verification letter that I know I'm receiving some questions about. It's a letter from a third party that's going to represent to me that you have more than $200,000 or $300,000 of income or more than $1 million of assets, excluding your primary home. There may be many of you that are in this bracket because you are owning and operating multiple properties in that regard. So you can go to your CPA, to a broker dealer or financial advisor or lawyer to basically do that accredited investor verification letter, or you can go to accredited.am, which is providing a very fast and very easy service, I believe, to provide you with that accredited investor letter. It also happens to be the cheapest. It starts at $2,500. I emphasize on start. You can find out if there is a maximum. The point is that we want as many people to be investing in this particular investment round, I would say, even if it's a continuous fundraising. So you can start investing at 2,500 and you can invest a little bit later if you would like. So if you have invested before, you can invest again, especially if you like the direction where Hospitable is going. And another thing that I wanted to share that I probably don't repeat enough, is there is obviously the benefit at the end of the line, which is Hospitable is going to be sold. Hospitable is going to be acquired by someone, somewhere, sometime. And you obviously are investing to receive the benefit of that investment and getting access to the liquidity at that point in time, which is an exit, so that company being acquired or going public, which may take a bit of time. In the meantime, though, you as a VIP investor can, if you invest more than $5,000, you can also receive a VIP treatment with priority support that is baked in at no extra charge. You can also have Slack, access to our company Slack, and you can also access to my own WhatsApp, which I don't understand why people are not using that. So, for example, there were some messages on the chat about guidebooks. Let's have the conversation on Slack directly. So this is basically a great way to share your feedback directly. So Anthony, yes, I'm looking forward to having you right there. Now, what about the progress of the host token? It has increased just a little bit because we're getting new investment, but so far we are not taking this aggressive slope to basically adjust the company, the host token, to the valuation of the company, the real one. So that means it's more discounted. The idea is that if you didn't have a chance to be entering earlier, now is a great time to do so. However, it will be more expensive later down the road when we decide to make such a correction. So yeah, this is basically right now $42.5 at a $270 million investment valuation, which is still very attractive. So Sami, if you're watching me, it's not for you. Anyway, going on to the rest of the presentation and the Q&A as expected.
Cool, yeah. So just to remind folks, we've had a bunch of links and QR codes today. So this is the main one that you need. This gives you everything you need over in the community. So we've got the full list of everything that we pointed to today. So go ahead, scan this QR code. If you're going to scan any of them, please scan this one. And we'll also make sure that we summarize any Q&A there as well and the updates from today shortly after today's session. Now, if you do have a question for us, we are going to ask you to raise your hand and let us know. So if you go down to the react button at the bottom of your screen, click in there, click raise hand, we'll know that you want to come on stage, at which point I'll invite you on and ask you to unmute, which is very important because we won't hear your question if you don't unmute. Okay, so starting us off with Mindy. Hello, Mindy. Inviting you on stage.
Hello, Mindy. How can we
help
you today?
There.
Perfect.
Good morning, everyone. Quick question. So I was kind of surprised to notice a few weeks ago, an owner of mine that I co-host for let me know that total payment for one of his bookings got deposited into my account, and it was for a Verbo booking. And I had no idea that that had happened or if that was even possible to have happened. And since then, I've had to manually audit all of those in the payments tab, and I found several more. Is there any way to at least notify us if that's going to happen?
Hey, Mindy, I think we had a conversation about this exact scenario for your account. We talked about how to potentially make it a little bit more visible of who is going to receive the payouts when you immediately connect to Verbo. But we are going to send the payout to whichever bank account is scoped to that property. And if there are payouts that are scheduled to go to the wrong account because the property was scoped to the wrong account initially, we can help you move those over if we haven't done that already.
The challenge is it was never set up to my property. His account was always set up, and so I don't know how it got switched. But anyway, we'll continue to keep a close eye on it.
Yeah, we have all the records. Everything is auditable, obviously, when it comes to the change of properties. So we know exactly what happened. What I want to say out loud and very clearly is that we are not messing up with the banks and with the recipients. So that means at some point there was a configuration so that it was the case. Now there's definitely a path for it to be changed. If there was an error, everyone has a right to basically make the mistake, and if that's the case, we will correct it immediately. All right, Mindy.
Thank you.
So yeah, we make sure we understand and can fix this problem offline. Okay.
Perfect. Thank
Next
you very
one.
much. Okay. IQI Business Solutions. Invite you on stage. Hello.
Hello.
How is it going, guys? Can you hear me well?
Going fine. How can we help you today?
Great. So dashboard looked great. So thank you guys for that. Excited to use it. I got a couple of questions here. There was a mention that the guests may be able to modify the thermostats remotely. If I heard that correctly, it sounds ecstatic, but I can certainly say I wouldn't want that. So I'm wondering if there can be like a toggle to make that available or not
Why not?
to the guests.
Why would you not want that?
Well, my properties are in Florida, right? And electric
Yeah.
bills are crazy. And they are not as considerate as you would think a guest would be with the utility of, I'll just say energy consumption.
I can think pretty much that. Now, if you were to define a range that is basically define the minimum that you want and the maximum that you would like, would you not allow that guest to be fitting within the range that you have set up?
I would still say no, because I want them to be in the home when they're adjusting the temperature. I can't think of while there are some legitimate scenarios, a significant scenario where they're not at the house and they want to then change the temperature. The additional convenience of maybe being on one side of the home and not wanting to walk to the thermostat. I'm not really interested in solving that problem and offering that convenience to my guests, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I love the idea. I just would like to have the option to turn it off, just to be clear.
Our thinking was really that it feels like a very premium reservation and a very premium experience just by displaying and knowing that you can basically control the thermostats. It's basically something that any hotel room can do. There are some controls in hotel rooms too, but just basically feels like, oh, this is really nice. I want to go back to this place. So that is our original thinking. So yeah. Andrew, you want to share a thing or two? Okay, but thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, I'm not sure if moving on to a second item, I'm not sure if I am just need a bit of schooling on how to utilize the tool, but I use the Nest thermostat integration, and from my app, I'm unable to change the temperatures. Now I can obviously configure the ranges and associated them with certain properties, so all that works great. Am I supposed to have the ability to change the temperatures from my Hospitable app?
I can take this one. So when you give access to Hospitable for the device, basically Hospitable becomes the manager of the device. And so every temperature adjustment comes from those presets that you have set up when you connect the device originally. And so any changes that you do make to that temperature, it will then revert back to those presets. If it's occupied, it'll revert at the checkout time. If the property is not occupied, they will revert after 2 hours.
Great. So if I'm hearing you correctly, those reversions would only take place at certain times based on the triggers like check out or check in. You agree?
That's exactly it. Yeah, it should be synced to the reservations.
Got it. And outside of that, there is not the ability to change the set temperature from the Hospitable app?
So if it's not occupied, you can change it, but that reversion happens after 2 hours. So the purpose of that is if there's a cleaner that goes into the property or maintenance and they adjust the thermostat, that after 2 hours, that will revert back to that setting, assuming that cleaning is done and they've forgotten to switch it.
Got it. And that's done at the device, not on at the actual thermostat, not on your mobile device.
At the device, it should still work within the Nest app itself also, but again, that same 2-hour rule applies.
Got it. Okay. All right. Appreciate you clarifying that. And lastly, as it relates to the inbox, should the inbox be actively updating? I thought I recall hearing of that feature some time ago. So apologies if I missed some town halls and whatever updates were provided there. But when you're in the inbox, should you see recent messages, and for that matter, any other events that you guys tag to the inbox? Should I see those when the window is still open? Or do I have to go out and come back in?
You should do, yes. Within 30 seconds of us receiving the message that comes from the guest, it should automatically update. If it's not, let me know. We can take a look into it. And also, just to add on to that as well, if you've got like a conversation open, the message list in there as well should automatically update as you receive new messages.
Got it. Okay. Thanks for that clarification. And lastly, I'll say if we can make the thermostats available to the MCP, that would be fantastic. But that's all I have. Thanks, guys, for everything.
Thank you very much for your questions.
That starts to be really beyond short-term rental management and home automation. But yeah, thank you. Okay, we're gonna stop there because we're past time. If anyone has questions or things that they want to raise to my attention, you can just do that to pc@hospitable.com. I'm doing my best to then escalate that to the relevant and the most experienced person in the team that can fix an issue or address the feedback that you're willing to share with us. So yeah, I'm very excited about the dashboard. It's just to sum up, it really is creating a lot of space for us to be communicating to you beyond just the features that we're having. That thing at the top here that says action required, that we call internally the oh shit bar, and we're pretty transparent about basically what it takes to basically be there. So it's really there to escalate a lot of fringe cases and issues that you might not be aware of, but we can find out so that you can have the information and address those directly. And that's a surface that is pretty damn missing in the space in general, not just for Hospitable, but I think in general for alternative products as well. And what's missing is also the part of opportunities. So I think Tim said it really well just along with Ben, is that there is a lot of depth now to Hospitable, and there is a lot of features that we know we can help you with. Behind the scenes, I would love to go and share about all the engineering of this, but we really want to offer a specific tailored opportunity because we know that can drive an input. So it's really leveraging our own data behind the scenes to basically tell you that you should activate this feature because it's making sense for you, because it can achieve this as a particular objective. So this is really creating a lot of space that we would love to use and we continue to use in the coming days and weeks and months, whenever there is a new feature that's being released, whenever there's an OTA that is changing their behavior. So we can create basically now the space to alert you and communicate to you directly and specifically about your individual properties. So that's really what the mission of that dashboard is internally to us. So it's a really great one because we need that foundation to be talking to our users too. And soon, I don't know, maybe we're gonna be able to stream the town hall directly from that dashboard. I know there's an issue, the ticket somewhere on this. Thank you so very much. See you